Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality, and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness which creates and animates all things. After years of exploring this awe-inspiring truth on this podcast, I'm super excited to announce that we are now going even deeper down the rabbit hole on the new late-night style consciousness-elevating talk show called Optimistic, which features none other than you, the listeners. Optimistic is taped out of the epic, spaceship-esque 8-bedroom property we call the Mystic Manor that myself and the rest of the Optimistic crew now navigate reality from in Venice Beach, California. And you are invited to come experience a Mystic Manor immersion week with us. During your week-long stay, you'll enjoy unique workshops, chef-prepared meals, one-on-one time coaching and consulting with me, and even co-creating magic with me as a guest on both Optimistic and an episode of the Positive Head podcast. When I started this, my aim with these immersive retreats was to facilitate the ultimate spiritual upgrade and tune-up, so to speak, for our guests while providing them with one of the most memorable experiences of their lives. And I'm happy to say that as of this recording, every guest at the end of their trip so far has told me that they have had a profound and transformational experience at the Mystic Manor and that they definitely want to come back. All that being said, we only have a limited number of spots available between now and next July. And as of this recording, about half of those spots are already filled. So if there's any part of you that is screaming, yes, I want to come, I feel like I need to be there, go now and book a slot with me to discuss how we can put our heads together and make it happen at calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. I know for some people there is also that little voice in their head saying, why not? I can't get off work. I can't afford it, and on and on and on. But, really Henry Ford, I think, said it best. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And I'm confident that where there's a will, there's a way. And I'm personally committed to doing everything in my power, including discounts and payment plans, to get you here if it is something that truly feels like a huge yes for you energetically and like you're meant to be here. Once again, the link to book time to discuss with me is calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. That's spelled calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. All one word, of course. And book in some time and look forward to seeing you soon here at the Mystic Manor. All right, all you positive heads, welcome. Here we grow again. It is a new year. It is 2020, coming in hot with perfect vision. Welcome to the soaring 20s, everyone. I am here alone this Monday. I've had people with me the last few. So, excited for all the good things that 2020 certainly holds for all of us. I always think, of course, symbolically, it's a very good sign that it's 2020. You think of perfect vision, clear vision. And we've got, that's all the excuse I need to expect good things. How about you guys? Today, I want to talk a little bit about holding space for others. And, it's something in my own life that has been rehashed a lot, and especially in your family. I mean, just coming off of a few weeks with family or a lot more time with family for a lot of us over the holidays, you realize, of course, as Ram Dass said, who recently crossed into non-physical, he would say, if you think you're enlightened, spend a week with your family, and they definitely can trigger us the most. So, I had an interaction a few days ago with my brother that made me think about this topic and holding space for others. Before I dive into that, I just want to throw out to you guys that we do have a few spots here at the Mystic Manor in February still available. And I would absolutely love to have you come out if you're still considering coming. It's not that far out, so definitely would work out something a little special for you guys who can make it in February and beyond. We have dates all the way going through June as of now. So most of the later dates are getting pretty filled up. So if you've been thinking about coming, I definitely would reach out sooner than later before all the spots is gone. And you can check out, for those of you hearing this for the first time, if you go to optimistic.tv, you can see a couple videos about the retreats and even the new show that we're doing, Optimistic. If you want to just go ahead and schedule to talk with me directly, you can schedule at calendly.com/talk with Brandon, and Calendly is spelled CALENDLY.com. So definitely would love to see look forward to seeing more of your happy, shiny faces here at the Mystic Manor this year. So much good that we're cooking up. I can't even track it all. It's a lot. So, with that being said, let's dive into today's topic, holding space for others. Why it's so important. Don Miguel Ruiz's, one of his 4 agreements, one of the most important ones, I think, don't take anything personally. For me, I had a moment, and you guys, I've talked about my brother a lot on the show. He's definitely someone who's caused the most growth in my own life, and certainly the most challenges at times. We're business partners and have, lived together many times in our adult lives. Not currently, but, spent just, 2 years apart and have been in close proximity most of our lives. So definitely can trigger each other like none other. And he was experiencing a lot of stress a few days ago about something that tied to our other business, and sort of some even resentment with all my energy that's went into this project, the Mystic Manor, et cetera. And so instead of reacting to that, I felt the most calm, sense of peace in that moment. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much better than the typical, defensiveness that can happen in our habitual interactions with each other, kind of like that, one person being really stressed and anxious and then throwing it at the other one. And then the other one sort of taking that and, taking that bait, if you will, and then continuing to respond in a way that's intense, or starting to respond in a way that's intense. And then that just escalating things. And for me in this moment, I was just like, a person who's really good at doing this sort of stuff, dealing with these sorts of situations, is Samantha Lotus, who's been, guest hosting here as of late. And, she'll always respond to people in a way that is like very genuine. And whenever I've seen her in a tense situation, it's like, look, I hear and feel what you're saying. I acknowledge you and where you're at. And just, if for me, when I understood in that moment, using this example with my brother recently, it's like, okay, he's directing things at me, and there's some resentment towards me, and there's some anger towards me. And this isn't personal. He wants to be heard. He has emotions that he's having trouble processing and offloading, in a sense. And I can either escalate those and add fuel to the fire, or I can be the calm eye of the storm while it passes. People just want to be heard. I mean, how many times in your life are you guys finding yourself in this situation where you have this, especially with you probably all can think of someone in particular where you just, trigger each other back and forth and you play off each other. And instead of seeing it as personal, taking it personal, saying, wow, you can actually become empathic, right, in that moment and say, wow, okay, this isn't personal and they're hurting right now. And if you can do that, you can really, that's the first step to becoming the sort of the calm eye of the storm, and allowing it to pass, and doing what Samantha does so well. Look, I hear and feel what you're saying. I acknowledge you. And then speaking from a place of, love and compassion instead of, aggression and defensiveness. And, that's so 2019. And for me, it felt so much better. And then, of course, as I held space in this moment, it past, it's just literally watching someone. It's like passing anything energetic, allowing the process, allowing it through. I'm not buying into it. I mean, there were a moment in our conversation where it was literally like 2 minutes of silence. And I just allowed that to be there and just continued to focus on my own energy and not allowing myself to get sucked into anything that would turn into a fight that everyone walks away feeling worse from. And I saw this really cool quote by Timber Hawkeye said, "You can't calm the storm, so stop trying. What you can do is calm yourself. The storm will pass." And I thought that was a really cool, really cool quote. And, the other sort of idea I've talked a lot about in the past is, the greater the storm, the brighter the rainbow sort of idea. The greater one toils for their freedom, the greater the sense of freedom that's attained. So as we all get better at understanding, okay, this is especially if it's a big storm, okay, there's going to be a brighter rainbow at the other end of it. And, in this case, the stressful situation with my brother, it's something, and that's how I put it to him. I was like, look, I understand there's a bunch of things that are causing stress hitting at one time. It's sort of the ebb and flow of the ocean coming in and out, the tides coming in and out. We all have seen the water come rushing into the beach and then the retraction. And a lot of times you'll notice, if you notice the patterns in your life, those retractions will happen a bunch at one time that, even let's say 3 things happen at one time that are stressful or cause tension and whatnot. And by all 3 of them happening at once, it's like the sum is greater than the equal parts. So it makes things extra tense. So for me, I've trained myself when I started identifying those patterns. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a big retraction on the beach. The water's really sucking out, right? And what's going to happen is a really big wave of goodness behind it. And so just tapping into that, learning how to tap into empathy versus even sympathy. And it's something I shared a long time ago on the show somewhere. We're back there. This whole idea of empathy versus sympathy. There's a really short clip I'm going to share here in a minute by Brené Brown, just kind of breaking down the difference between the two. And I'm going to go ahead and share that now, and then I'll talk about it.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you can climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. what makes something better is connection.
So the fourth thing she talked about, taking on the perspective of others, staying out of judgment. That's the big one, right? So taking on the perspective of others, feeling what they're, really tapping into to where they're at, recognizing the emotion in others, communicating that back to them. That's what Samantha does really well. Look, I'm hearing and I'm feeling and I'm seeing what you're saying. I'm acknowledging you. Your feelings are always valid because you're feeling them. Whether I agree with them or not is a whole nother thing, right? And communicating that with is as she said, empathy is feeling with people. Rarely does it start with, well, at least, and that's learning to get out of this idea that we just need to respond with something. People, it's like me spending 2 minutes in silence with my brother. It wasn't, instead of responding, it was just better to connect, and that's what she said. What makes something better isn't a response, it's connection. So let's take this to a whole nother vantage point here, is sort of understanding when someone is in this state, is it helpful to, or what is it helpful to do otherwise? Like if let's say someone needs money or something like that, when does it make sense? When is it appropriate to sort of to help someone? Because that's another end of this whole, predicament that many of us find ourselves in, oftentimes dealing with someone in their challenge. And I found another little clip here, and this is another short one. It's Abraham. It's titled "What to Do When Other People Attack You," although it's not really, there's not a lot of talk of that in this particular segment that I'm going to play. Let's take a listen to this, and then I'll talk about it.
We have one more very short thing to encourage you about.
Okay.
The people in your world who are not in this moment in time or in a moment in time, because this alignment is not like a college degree where once you get it, you've got it forevermore. There's not a plaque on your wall that says aligned. It either is or it isn't in the moment, and you can tell by the way you feel whether you're in alignment under the influence of your source or whether you're under the influence of something else. And so much of the world whom you interact with are not under the influence of source. And so they're instead in a place of need, place of needing clarity or needing something. And when they are in that needy place, they're looking at things differently than we are asking you to from your place of alignment. Because when they need something, they want it from you. And when they want it from you, they want it and they want it now, and they may resent you if you don't just get down there in their trench and wallow with them and give them whatever you've got. You have to maintain your knowledge that if you let them bring you there, you've got nothing to give. Here's an example. It's not a heart-wrenching example, so you'll hear it easily. So Jerry and Esther often, when they were traveling and dining together, moving from restaurant to restaurant across the country, often there would be a particularly aligned person interacting with them. And Jerry would say, Esther, this is our one, will you do it? So what they would say is, every month, it was really just about every day, every month we have a family tradition where we choose our very favorite waiter or waitress, and we give them something special, and you're it. And then they give them $100 in addition to what they'd written on the tab, just to thank them for their brightness in the world. And there was a particular place in their hometown where they went often, and the word kind of got out. And people started fighting over who would get to wait on them, and it became a little awkward. But another very common thing that happened is someone would come to their table and plead their needy case. My rent's due, and my roommate moved out. Enjoy your meal. I got 2 flat tires this week. I had to hitchhike to work. And Jerry would look at Esther, and Esther would look at Jerry, and one of them would say to the other, or sometimes it was unspoken, they don't get it. They don't get it. The universe responds to you the way you feel. And Jerry and Esther did not want to give distorted point of view. Now hear it. Anytime, knowing what you know, you go to the aid of someone who's not in the vibrational place of letting it in on a really regular basis, and you give them the impression that that's how the universe works, that you will give them what they need. Now, we're not saying don't be kind, and we certainly would not deprive anyone of anything. We know there are times when you just move in and you do whatever you can, and if you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, you can do it all day, every day to whoever comes across your path. This isn't about the action. This is about what you're really giving them. Because you really do not want to be someone who says, I do this for you because I see you cannot do it for yourself. That is not the message that you want to give. The message that you want to give is, there are resources. Your opening words were, what was your opening word?
About support?
Support. There is universal, non-physical support beyond our ability to put it into words, and every single person has direct access to that, and no one needs someone to act as a passer-oner of it. But it is helpful when you demonstrate that you've figured out how to tap in, and that really is the way that you can be of greatest value to the world. Or give somebody whatever it is they're begging for. Here's $100, here's $500, go get your tires. But this isn't how the universe works. You just caught us at a weak moment. Usually we never offer up the goods to someone who's whining and complaining, and neither does the universe at large. There.
Thank you.
Yeah. There you go. And we're off. Right here. Parents often teach their kids, if we wear mom and dad down enough, they'll give up the goods. And then they're shocked when they can't get everybody else in the universe to respond the same way. Mom and dad are suckers.
So what she's talking about here is, sort of the next part of this. Most people, if they're not under the influence of source, they're in that state of need. And so the most important thing for you is, of course, making sure you are under the influence of source, and of course, responding the way we've been talking about is definitely, I was feeling very tapped in my scenario, as opposed to out of alignment. And if you let them bring you to where they're at, you have nothing to give. And I think that's a really, really great point that was made in this talk. And of course, the universe is always responding to how you feel. So, and she talks about here in the idea of people coming and saying, oh, I can't pay my rent. Will you give me this big tip? Not wanting to give a distorted point of view. They don't want to say, I'm doing this because I know you can't do it for yourself. That is sort of this idea of teaching someone to fish. Give someone a fish and you feed them for a day, teach them to fish and you feed them for a lifetime. So helping to always make sure that you are aware of what state the person is in when you're looking to assist is really what this is about. And letting people be empowered to know that you aren't the source of fixing anything for them. You may play that role for the universe. Oh, and what's funny about this clip, by the way, a little synchronicity. I'm just noticing here, it was posted on my brother's birthday by the Universe, YO Universe 88 YouTube page. That's funny. So, there is, I think she said here, looking at what I wrote down when I was listening, there's universe non-physical support beyond our ability to perceive, and everyone has direct access to it, and no one needs to be the passer-oner of it, essentially. So we don't, no one, whenever anyone is moving into a state of you are the end all to solving this thing for me. We really want to start steering people to understand that they can do it for themselves. This is all about the state of that they're in, that we're in. The universe is always responding to how we each feel, and that is an important piece to help people to see, to empower people to, feed themselves for a lifetime, if you will, by being tuned in under the influence of source, like she talked about here. Well, I hope this helps to kick off your 2020 with the clearest of vision. I know I'm feeling quite clear as of late, the last week or so. Energetically, I just feel like there's a lot of movement and there's a lot coming. Be gentle with yourself day by day. Let it breathe, as Rob Ricardo says here, the song that I'm going to leave you guys with. Otherwise, I hope you all have a marvelous moment whenever you're receiving this broadcast. Until next time, journey well. Love you all so, so much. And if you're feeling the call to come for a week retreat-style Mystic Manor immersion, remember to go now and book your time to speak with me directly about stepping into the optimistic vortex at calendly.com/talkwithbrandon while there are still spots left. Otherwise, I look forward to co-creating magic with you at the Mystic Manor.
These days I know it gets hard. We can be exposed to so much dark every minute. Oh, but trust me when I say there's a light, and there's a love, and there's a way. So if your world gets heavy and your fire burns low, your road gets rough and your heart runs cold, just let it breathe like the wind through the trees. Let it flow with ease like an ocean breeze. Take it all in and let it all out. Take it all in, yeah, let it all out. Sometimes I know it gets tough. You lie in bed at night wondering if you're enough. Well, trust me now when I say you are. But no matter what, this life at times will break you apart. So if your world gets heavy and your fire burns low, your road gets rough and your heart runs cold, just let it breathe like the wind through the trees. Let it flow with ease like an ocean breeze. Take it all in, let it all out. Take it all in, let it all out. So if your day gets crazy, don't think there's nothing that you can do. Yeah, when your day gets crazy, just find that calm within you and let it breathe like the wind through the trees. Let it flow with ease like an ocean breeze. Take it all in, let it all out. Take it all in, let it all out. Yeah, take it all in. Oh, let it all out. Take it all out. Let it all out.